So good morning children. So in today's class, let us study about, I think I have to remind you just what you have studied earlier. So in previous we have studied about the Europe, what were the changes that was happening in Europe, like Renaissance, imperialism and all such things. And all such modern growth in those European nations led finally to nationalism. So, what is nationalism? The chapter title is The Growth of Nationalism. So, from the times of kings and their monarchical rule, so slowly Europe has progressed towards nationalism. That means, so what is nationalism here? It is a feeling of oneness for the people of a country. So, what was happening in those days because of Renaissance, imperialism, I know many things. What was happening at the European nations and all such things we will discuss in this chapter with a nationalistic sentiment arising for the first time. So, which country got that and why it got all such reasons we will study in this chapter. So, to understand this nationalism and other concepts, let us learn about the French Revolution. So, the word itself says that there was a revolution happened in France. So, what kind of revolution and what it is, that we will see. Some revolt has occurred. So, against the existing system in France. So, that kind of revolt was referred as French Revolution. So, the French Revolution of 1789 was one of the earliest national movements in the world. So the world has never seen people of a country revolting against their own existing political systems. For the very first time in the world, a nationalistic movement, that means people getting united together for a particular cause, was happened. So that happened for the first time in France. So in which year? So in 1789. So all the nationalist movements that took place in the world in 19th century were influenced one way or other by French Revolution. So you take any other revolutions that throughout the world, suppose you take Indian national movement, it also got inspired from this French Revolution. So many such national movements throughout the world were influenced by the French Revolution. Such a great impact it has. Let us see what were the causes of this French Revolution. So there were many causes. Let us see one by one now. So political causes. So what was the situation in France and how it led to people's revolt in that country, that we will see. So at the beginning of the 18th century, France had a hereditary absolute monarchy. So what do you mean by hereditary absolute monarchy? That means hereditary means that, so generally hereditary monarchy means he is a, suppose France is a kingdom or it is an empire, for example, you think, and for that there will be a king, and that king is not elected by people. Okay, he was just born to a king and he got a right absolutely to rule France. So that means if a king is there and after his death his son will become the next king, and after him his next generation will become king. This is called hereditary nature. Okay, so monarchy means somebody who can become king through this hereditary principle. So France by this time, at the end of or at the beginning of 18th century, okay, so it was ruled by a hereditary monarchy. So there was an absolute monarchy who was ruling France by beginning of 18th century, and the king held himself as the representative of God on earth. So the king called himself as a god on earth. So they were so proud that they considered themselves as gods on earth. He enjoyed absolute powers and his will was the law. So what do you mean by absolute powers? All powers are with the king only. So whatever he says, that will become law. So such was the influence of kings in France. And Louis XVI, who ruled over France at the time of the revolution, lacked leadership qualities. So we said that people revolted against their kings. So why do you think people have revolted against the king? Because During that time, the leader or the king ruling France was Louis XVI, and this Louis XVI was not having any leadership qualities. So he indulged in petty intrigues and was more interested in hunting, eating, and merrymaking. So, what do you mean by petty intrigues? That means he was always interested in some kind of curious activities. So, being a king, he should be more responsible, right? Instead of being more responsible and being very serious in administration, he was always involved in some kind of curious activities, just like a small boy. So, he was interested in hunting, always thinking of his self happiness. So, always prefers to go, I know, always prefer in eating different kinds of foods. Merrymaking means like always he want to cherish very happily. He doesn't bother about the administration, about the problems of people and all such things. So he was a very, a king who was not at all worried about people. He was greatly influenced by his wife, Marie Antoinette. So his wife, King Louis XVI, you can see in this picture, and his wife was Marie Antoinette, and she was an extravagant and interested in enjoying life. So King Louis XVI, in a way, got influenced from his wife, whose name was Antoinette. So she was also a lady who always thinks of enjoying and always extravagant means like always spending money and other things just for cherishing their life, keeping themselves happy. So both the king and the queen were indulged. That means they were always enjoying instead of looking at the administration and other details of the kingdom. So among the political causes, so what are the other reasons? We just now have introduction about the king and the queen, how irresponsible they were. Along with them, the French administration was marked by nepotism. That means you take any place in the administration, you take the ministers, you take the any department and all in such areas, the king and his family members used to dominate. Instead of keeping somebody who is effective there, always there is a nepotism. That means doing favors to their relatives and family members. So that kind of people were more in administration also. Mostly the king's family members were there, and high posts were given to nobles and aristocrats who were not conscious of their duties. So just because they're having high status in society, they're born to a high class in society, just high posts were given to them. So in French administration, the highest posts were given to nobles. That means whom they feel as they are very highest in their birth, and aristocrats. That means the family members as well as the other relatives. So all such people were dumped in administration, even though they are not conscious of their duties. Even though these people, they don't know how to be responsible in administration, they were still there was I mean they were still part of the French administration. Politically, this was a very you know wrong things going on. These were the wrong things which were observed in the French administration. There was no uniform system of laws in the country. Punishments were rigorous and biased. See, anyway, throughout the country, law must be same for any crime. But the uniform system of laws was not present. So if somebody does a crime and he belongs to king's family and all, suddenly they change the rules and they try to protect their family members. Or if somebody of noble or a minister does something wrong, so the kings and others, they used to protect them irrespective of their wrong things they do. So law was not uniform. It is operational as per the will and wish of the king, and the aristocrats were not punished for certain crimes. So even if aristocrats does some crimes or criminal activities, they were not allowed to prosecute and get punished. Such was the protection that they received during those days, even though they do crimes. Just this is a partiality kind of administration which was operational. Common people hardly had any share in the administration. So the common people who were living in France, they never had any share in the administration. Only king, people of higher birth and other the ministers, their children, I know for royal family members and their children, only they used to be part of all the administration and all the important posts. So no common people was part of the administration in France. The system of elections was not prevalent at that time. So France was, not allowing elections to happen. So they didn't give chance for people to elect their leaders. So instead, only it was occupied with the royal family members and the ministers and their families and relatives. So this was the situation politically, and it produced discontent among the masses. Common people felt very bad because at the cost of administration, more ineffective people were there. So they left administration to negligence, and they were always worried about their own families and relatives in France. So this made the common people suffer a lot and being unhappy with the or the king and his ministers there. So what are the reasons or the social causes that made French Revolution to happen? So how was the society? The French society was characterized by extreme inequalities. So people were divided with a lot of inequalities. So the society was divided into three classes in French society. One was first estate, second was the second estate, and the third one was the third estate. So they were divided into estates. So who were included in these estates? First estate has clergy. So who are these people? They're called clergy. So in society, as I said, there were three classes: first estate, second estate, and third estate. So here estate means they are like, in those days, this French society was divided into estates. Like in, if you take Indian system, we have caste or varnas, right? So in the similar manner, they have divided and called them as estates. So there were three estates in French society. First estate consists of clergy. So what do you mean by clergy? Clergy means people having religious duties. That means the church fathers, the bishops, and who are related to religion. So they were referred as clergy. They enjoyed the highest status in society. The second estate includes nobility. Nobility means people having noble birth. That means the kings, their children, and their family members. All such people were included in nobility, and they constituted a second estate in France. And the peasants and the bourgeoisie. So who are these peasants? Peasants, you know that they are the farmers. And bourgeoisie. So who are this bourgeoisie we talk about? So here, after the peasants, we are talking about bourgeoisie. Who are this bourgeoisie? Bourgeoisie means the middle class people in a society. Okay, so the middle class and the farmers, they were and the merchants and some professionals, okay, who are good at some kind of skilled jobs and all. So the third estate in French society consists of peasants. Bourgeoisie means the middle class people, and this middle class people were included with merchants, that means the business people, and some professionals who are good at one particular skill. So these people, the peasants and bourgeoisie, was included in third estate. So the first and second estates, they formed the privileged classes. That means privileged classes means that they are having highest status in society, whereas the third estate comprise the non-privileged classes. So only these two estate people, they were enjoying highest status and respect in society, whereas the third estate people, they were non-privileged classes. They don't have any special treatment, or they don't have any special status in society. So they were looked as a downgraded people in society, and the non-privileged classes had to bear the burden of heavy taxation. So the two estates, what they do, they used to levy more taxes on this third estate, and majority population is included in third estate. So majority population of France was included in third estate, and this third estate was supposed to pay more number of taxes. So highest taxes they used to charge on these people. So that you take the nobility or the clergy, they never paid tax. So the privileged classes, which comprised only 1% of total population, held almost 40% of the land in France. So you can imagine that these privileged classes which include clergy and nobles, they control almost 40% of the land, which was a major revenue source in France. And they were just 1% in total population, but they controlled 40% of the land. Imagine how they were powerful. And most of the wealth was concentrated in their hands. As land is the major source of income in those days, and majority of land is under their control, they used to control all the powers. So they kept all the powers with them. And all the important posts in the state were held by the members of the higher classes. So on one hand, majority land is under their control. On the other hand, highest posts, okay, important post in administration of kingdom also belong to these privileged classes. Besides, they were exempted from paying taxes also. So these first estate and second estate people, they even had a privilege of not paying any taxes, but they had the privilege of having control on the maximum wealth in the nation. So in the society, the peasants were forced to perform unpaid compulsory services. So that means, suppose if a peasant is working in a farmland, which he has to pay rent, then there is some way, because he works in the farmland, his production, he will sell, and he gets money to what he has sold. But sometimes these peasants were also forced to work in the estates of the king and know his family members or his relatives free of cost in the name of the privilege. So they used to perform unpaid services, that they have to go and work in the fields of the king or the noble's family members in such areas, and without any fee they have to do. So they will not give them any kind of salaries also. So those who did not pay their along with that, they have to pay taxes also. Those who did not pay the tax, they were punished with imprisonment in the state prison called the Bastille. So in those days, Bastille prison was very famous, because anybody who denies paying tax or who doesn't pay tax, they were sent to this prison, arrested, and they'll be sent to this prison. So Bastille came to be associated with oppression. That means in these prisons, long time, no, I mean like for many long years, people were kept inside, and they will be treated very cruelly. So Bastille prison means it's a very cruel place where all people who doesn't pay taxes will be kept in prison, and they'll be treated very, very cruelly. So when situations were like this, in 18th century, the French bourgeoisie, or the middle class, comprising the merchants, manufacturers, lawyers, doctors, and other professionals, had acquired great wealth. So because of their jobs they do, the merchants and the professionals like lawyers, doctors, and the manufacturers, because of their skill, they could acquire some great wealth. So irrespective of their birth and all, they also acquired a lot of wealth. But despite their economic prosperity, that means even though this class of people acquired some lot of wealth through hard work, still they were not treated with equality. Even though they are economically very prosperous, that means even though they are economically very rich, they were denied social equality. That means in society they were treated as third grade citizens only, and they were not given any political rights. That means these peoples were never allowed to enter into the king's court, or no, they can never become ministers and all. In spite of having wealth, they were treated unequally. So this discrimination caused resentment, that means unhappiness among them. And the bourgeoisie, or the middle class, played an important role in overthrowing the monarchy in France. So this all kind of things were slowly, getting into people, and people were very unhappy. Slowly, one fine day, they have overthrown the monarch, the king in France. And in overthrowing means they have made the king to step down from his position. And in making king to step down from his position, the middle class played a very important role in French Revolution. So in the French Revolution, it made them to send their monarchy away, and in that sending of monarchy or in overthrowing that monarchy, the middle class played a very important role. So coming to the economic causes. So how economically France or the administration of France responsible for the rise of revolution. The economic causes played an important role in bringing about the revolution in France. So economically, that means financially, how France slipped into crisis, and how who made this crisis, and how it became finally reason, that we will see now. The main economic reasons were the following. Economically, what happened to France was also responsibility to people to revolt against the leaders. Extravagance of the ruling class led to the economic crisis. That means overspending and luxurious spending of the ruling class. It made the country's economy to slip into crisis. No differentiation was made between personal income of the ruler than that of the state. So you can imagine how much they were spending. So whatever personal income that they get is through the taxes. So they spend most of the taxes which got collected for their luxuries. And there was no restriction on the luxurious ways of living adapted by kings. So the kings themselves were representatives of God. They were considering themselves as gods. So they never spending when they never had any restrictions in spending the money. All the taxes that were collected from the third estate people were used luxuriously and lavishly without any limits. And because of this kind of irregular, what do you call, expenditure, the debt of France rose to almost 8 crore dollars. So due to this extravagant expenditure on various issues, I'll explain what are those issues and all, and spending luxurious lives, the kings have finally declined the economic position of France, and even France became indebted. Almost the debt was 8 crore dollars in those days. So such was the huge debt that France accumulated under the kings. And on account of the wars waged by Louis XIV, the national debt of France increased. So this Louis XIV, who was grandfather, of Louis XVI and father of Louis XV. So he waged many wars. See, always remember France and Britain. They always had wars throughout the world. Okay, so Britain will go and occupy one colony. Immediately, France will come and try to occupy this colony only. So they were like enemies since the beginning of their industrialization. So this enmity has arisen because of industrialization. They wanted to rapidly industrialize, and to industrialize that, they wanted more number of colonies in their account. So if Britain occupies one place, France also tries to go and give competition to them in that place. Or if France occupies one place, so Britain will go there and it will give competition to occupy that place. So this kind of enmity between Britain and France always had many wars throughout the world. So Louis XIV has also done many such wars against Britain, and Louis XV even worsened the economic condition of France by participating in Austria's War of Succession. So Austria, which was leaderless by this time, was invaded by many powers. On one hand, Britain, Russia, and Prussia, many invaded. So on the other hand, France also invaded, because when England is invading on the other side, France also will try to invade the same place on the other side, I told you. So they want control over these places. So when Louis XV he made Austrian War of Succession. That means when he declared war on Austria, just because on the other side Prussia and Britain were standing. So this unprecedented wars or unwanted wars made France to slip into economic crisis. Continuous wars made them to spend all the money for the warfare and make France slip into economic crisis. So, and also this man Louis XV had 7 years war against Britain. So in the Austrian War of Succession, they have to fight almost for 7 years. On one hand, Russia, Britain, and other countries were trying to occupy Austria, and on the other hand, France also tried its level best to occupy Austria and prove itself as a master of that area. Also, the France support to American War of Independence. So in the 18th century, America was controlled by Britain and they were fighting against British for independence. So wherever Britain goes, I told you that this France also will go and involve. So against the British, France helped Americans to fight for their independence. So the economic crisis further increased. So what happened? France has to send armies to even America also. So they spent huge amounts of their own money, tax and their own people's tax and money on this American war and this Austrian war against Britain. So this further led France to slip into financial problem. And the taxation policy in France was a very faulty policy, or we can call it as a very wrong policy. How we can say that the taxation policy was wrong in France? Because aristocracy and the nobility, that means the two estates, the first estate and second estate people, which had the ability to pay because they collect the taxes, right? So they can even pay some return money as tax, but they made themselves free from paying taxes. All the aristocrats and the nobility, the kings, his family members, and the ministers, as well as the clergymen, who are capable of paying taxes, they escaped or they skipped themselves from paying taxes. They exempted from paying themselves the taxes. And the peasants or the farmers and the bourgeoisie or the common men, they were burdened with heavy taxes. Because of their luxuries and their wars of succession, they used to levy high taxes on peasants and the common people. Taxes were collected by contractors who recovered the dues at their will and misappropriated a part of taxes for their own benefit. Suppose if a king is there, and now through contractors from different parts of the place, they'll collect taxes. So a contractor of this place will collect tax, and another place they'll collect tax. Now what they'll do is, suppose some people they'll not pay tax immediately, they'll keep some due. So what these contractors used to do, whatever gets collected first, they go it and hand it over to king, and they will say that there is some due. And this due, what they'll do, they will collect later, and they try to use that money for their own benefits. So they didn't return the entire tax money to kings also. So they served as a middleman, and they even exploited the taxes that they received from common people and the farmers. So that's the extravagance of the ruling class. That means this kind of taxation system and economic policy without any what you call limits led to the defective and disorganized tax system, and it pushed the France economy to crisis point. On the one hand, externally, France and its wars made its position weak financially, and internally, due to the disorganized tax system, France slipped into economic crisis. So these were the economic reasons responsible for people to revolt against the the rulers in France. So when France was suffering such inequalities, when people of France were suffering with this kind of inequalities and economic crisis and many such things, what was happening with intellectuals? They are well educated people who understand what is going on in the France. So the Enlightenment movement, which evolved over the course of 18th century in Europe, exposed the contemporary social and political abuses. So France was politically worsening day by day, as well as economically and socially. There were a lot of inequalities in France. Now, some intellectuals like Rousseau and Montesquieu, they were like scholars. So they were well-educated scholars who could expose, okay, the social and political inequalities that were happening in France. These intellectuals, they understood how this dominant class or the ruling class or the nobles and the clergymen, how they're spoiling France as a nation. So these intellectuals like Rousseau and Montesquieu, what they did, they wrote, they understood, they tried to say what they understood about France to people. They infused independent thinking among the French people. So what they said, and convinced them the need of having reforms. These scholars, they understood how France is slipping into a crisis. You take politically, you take economically, any aspect, even you take in society, France was deteriorating day by day. And these scholars highlighted this kind of, what do you call, this kind of wrongs that were happening in French society, and they enlightened people, and that movement was called as Enlightenment movement. So how they did this Enlightenment movement? By means of their writings, they exposed the ills of the French political and social setup and created a sense of dissatisfaction among people. So they enlightened people by exposing the ills, that means the bad things happening in political system of France. Just now we have discussed how the kings were. They were luxurious, always worried about their own selfish things, not paying taxes. And the other case, social setup, how the tax paying classes called bourgeoisie and peasants were ill treated by these political masters. These were all exposed, and this made people also to be unhappy with the French rulers. So in a way, these scholars created awareness in French people about the wrongs going on in their country, which later on helped in French Revolution. So this is how what they played as a role. So when France was in that situation, on one hand the intellectuals helped people to understand. Finally, on one fine event, the revolution broke out internally from people. So the economic condition of France began to decline from the period of Louis XIV. So from the period of Louis XIV, economic crisis started in France and went from bad to worse during the rule of Louis XVI. So in the beginning we discussed about Louis XVI, right? He was always a very luxurious man, and he and his wife always used to have all the luxuries more than what they require, and they used to waste all the money for their recreation and all such things. So from bad condition, the economy of France slipped into worst condition. And between 1786 and 1788, Louis XVI changed the finance minister in succession to deal with financial crisis. So when financial crisis was inevitable and it was a huge impact, what did Louis XVI do? He changed the finance minister because he thought that it was a mistake of planning a finance minister. They never understood that it was a misadministration that these kings carried. So instead, they kept the blame on the finance minister and they brought a new finance minister to deal the crisis. And in 1786, the royal treasury turned empty. So the royal treasury means the king's treasury became empty. So without even a single dollar of money, it became an empty. And so Louis XVI decided to impose a uniform land tax on all sections of society. So whether your land is an agricultural land or non-agricultural land, whether you have less number of land or you have more acre of land, this irrespective of these things, Louis XVI imposed a uniform tax. So This uniform tax was imposed to fill his treasury and on all sections of society. Okay, not only on one section, all sections of society, uniform tax was imposed by this man, Louis XVI. And also he imposed a new stamp tax. So to meet the financial crisis, what Louis XVI did, he changed the finance minister, he imposed one uniform tax on all people, and he also imposed stamp tax. Stamp tax means those days if any transaction happens, suppose any document, land document, or if they sell or purchase any documents, they have to paste a stamp on that paper document. And for pasting that stamp, they have to pay some tax. So this kind of new taxes were imposed upon people. Already the economic condition of common people who belonged to third estate was bad. Because of various reasons, this third estate slowly also, because of the, not various reasons, because of the king's uh, extravagant and luxurious life, all the taxes collected from them, they were not used for welfare of people. So people, they slowly slipped into poverty, especially the third estate people, they slowly slipped into poverty. And nothing was left in their pockets. At this time, this man Louis XVI imposed uniform tax, new stamp tax, and also these middle class people who were already suffering with the feudal obligations, that means in purchase and selling of land and are paying taxes and the dues, already they had some problems with the local contractors or the feudal lords. They were the people who were in charge in collection of taxes, these feudal lords. So in solving the problems with the feudal lords, they were already left with no money. So all the money was spent in dealing those problems with their lands and other things. Now, how this led to revolution, we will see. So even tolls and taxes. Tolls means like, if they want to take their production to somewhere and sell that, they need to pay toll tax and other kind of taxes. Already burdened with huge taxes, these new additional taxes made the common people to suffer. Now, the Parliament of Paris did not have the authority to impose new taxes. Okay, Louis XVI thought he wanted to impose new taxes, but Parliament, which was mostly dominated by this ruling class people, they don't have power to impose new taxes. As per French laws, they don't have power to implement new taxes or collect new taxes. Then who has the power? Only the Estates General was empowered to impose new taxes. So another body or organization called Estates General was given that power, so to collect new taxes. So already existing taxes were there that they have power to collect, but if they want to impose new taxes, it is not, the parliament does not have that right. Only the Estates General have that right. And what is this Estates General? Estate General was an old representative council of France. That means it is a body of people comprising the three estates. So the representatives from these three estates, that is the clergy, the nobility, and the bourgeoisie. Clergy means the religious people, nobility means the kings and their family members, and bourgeoisie means middle class people. Estate General is a body comprising of all these three estate people, and of these three estates, the first two estates were against sitting with the third estate. So when a estate general meeting was called on to impose new taxes, the first two estates, that is the clergymen as well as the what do you say, this nobility people, they denied sitting together with the third estate people. They said they cannot sit with the lower grade people. So when taxes were about, when there was a discussion about to happen on imposing new tax, estates general meeting was called on, and estates general meeting, these two estates, the higher estates, they said they will not sit with third estate people in this discussion. So the estates general meeting, So let us see the background of this Estates General. I told you that this Estates General includes all the three estate people. So this has not been convened for a long time by the absolute monarchs of France. So since many years, the France monarchs or the kings, they never convened this Estates General meeting. Why they have not convened this Estates General meeting? Because if they convene so that they could raise taxes and spend public money without any hassles. So already they could, I mean, if this meeting is held, then they have to answer to them. So if this meeting was not convened or not conducted, they could raise taxes as they like, and also they could spend public money with no responsibility. So without any problem, that means without any hassles, that means without any problem, they can easily spend all the public money. But what made them now to convene a States General meeting? The precarious financial condition. That means the irregular and the very crisis financial condition, and to avoid a complete financial breakdown, forced Louis XVI to summon the Estates General on May 5th, 1789 at a place called Versailles. So before they never tried to convene this meeting because they were having good amount of taxes getting collected and they were having a very luxurious life. So they don't want to say any give information about how their luxurious expenditure would be happening. So they never convened that Estate General meeting. But now, due to financial condition and to avoid a financial breakdown, already financial condition is in crisis, and to avoid that crisis to further deepen, now the Louis XVI, who was the French king, he happened to conduct this Estates General meeting in 1789. So when the Estates General was convened or conducted, the representatives of first and second estates met separately. So the first estate people and second estate people, they went and they met separately. They didn't join because estate general means three estates should come and sit together. But what these two estates did, they went and met separately. This was not liked by members of third estate, and they demanded that the three estates should sit together and vote as individuals. So now, when these first and second estate felt very much shameful sitting with the third estate people, what they did, they were conducting a separate meeting for themselves, estate general meeting. And this third estate people, they said only if three estates come and sit together, they would agree or they would come to a decision on the taxation. Otherwise, they are not going to come. And moreover, this third estate people said they should vote as individuals, not as a state. So I will tell you later what is this voting process and all. Say suppose if this meeting convenes that taxes should be imposed, all the three estates would go for voting. So if majority people vote for to impose new taxes, then the taxes should be paid by the third estate. If majority people say no, then there is no power for them to collect taxes. So, but these people have said that voting should be done as individuals, not by an estate. Those days, each estate was having one vote. So all the people in first estate, they consider that as one vote. Second estate, all people have one vote. It is called the second vote. And the majority population, third estate, they have one vote. Now, tell me, if this first and second estate votes in favor of imposing new taxes, this one vote, how could this one vote help this third estate people? So they said we want individual votes. As population wise they are more in number, definitely majority population would say no for increasing taxes or for imposing new taxes. Fearing that, this first and second estate people, they went and conducted separately their own meeting. They demanded that the representatives of third estate should be double in number than the first and second estate. So for example, if this is first estate, this is second estate, and this is third estate. there will be some representatives of people in this estates, right? In this what do you call estates general meeting, there will representatives go and meet. So being 1% population, these first and second estates send some representatives, and being majority population, they also are required to send same number of representatives. For example, if they send 2 representatives, second estate also send 2. According to their 1% population, 2 members sending is a, okay, it is acceptable. But their population is more, third estate population, but still they will ask them to send only 2 representatives. What this third estate demanded now, they said we want double what we are sending. We want double the numbers as representatives in estate general meeting. However, the issue of doubling the members remain unresolved, but this was not accepted, and no, it was not resolved. It was still in pending. In 1789, Louis XVI again convened a States General meeting. So in the first meeting, it was like partially not successful because they went separate, and third estate said no, we want together meeting. So again in 1789, Louis XVI again conducted a States General meeting. However, he wanted the 3 estates to meet separately so that each one of them would exercise 1 vote. Now see how cunning this fellow Louis XVI was. Now he said, everyone go yourself, conduct meeting and give your vote on the imposition of new taxes. So nobility will, first estate will go clergy and they will vote, and with their representative they will say what they voted for. Second, the nobility will go, all the representatives and people, they will vote and they will say what whether they are voting in favor or against the collection of new taxes. They want even the third estate to go and say. So for each estate they said only 1 vote. Okay, not individual vote. For every estate 1 vote they have fixed. So let us see what happened later. So he gave, they asked every estate to go and vote separately, and each estate has only 1 vote, he said. But the third estate demanded a joint meeting of the 3 estates. So third estate did not agree for this individual meeting and voting, and they said we want a joint meeting. Why are they treating us unequally in society when we were the taxpayers? And also they demanded each member exercising 1 vote. So the third estate said, as we are the majority population, why don't you go for each member voting? Instead of all the estate casting 1 vote, why don't you give individual votes from all to all the estates? So because they never used to give individual voting, because they know very well that the majority population is in third estate and they would lose the voting. So they never allowed for individual voting. They only allowed for a common vote for each estate, common 1 vote. When no agreement could be reached, the third estate took the revolutionary step of leaving the Estates General and proclaimed itself as the National Assembly of France in June 1789. So on one hand, third estate is saying that convene a common meeting, give individual voting, whatever majority says, that we will follow. That was the concept of third estate. But on the other hand, first and second estates, they said no, we will go individual, we will go individually, and we will have our own, voting system, and we will come up with a decision. So both parties were in tug of war, and they could not reach any consensus. So at this time, the third estate, it took a revolutionary step. That means what they thought, that they could not convince these 2 estates. Instead, what they did, they left the estate general. They said from now onwards, we are leaving this estates general council. We are no longer members of this estates general, where always injustice is there. So, and after leaving estates general, what this third estate members did, they went and started National Assembly of France in 1789. They parallelly started their own administrative government system. So they said they don't want the rule of the nobles or the second estate or first estate. They no longer wanted to be as a third grade citizens under these rulers. Instead, they formed their own assembly, which was called National Assembly of France. So, to rule themselves and to administer themselves, they formed their own political body called National Assembly of France. And what is this tennis court oath? So Louis XVI ordered to shut the doors of National Assembly Hall. So therefore, see, when they wanted to form their own National Assembly, already there was a hall, Assembly Hall operating in France. And when the third estate people wanted to go enter into that assembly hall to form their own government, then Louis XVI ordered the armies to shut the doors of assembly and not to allow the third estate people enter into this assembly hall. So what the third estate people did, the representatives of National Assembly, they met at a nearby tennis court. So very nearby to that assembly hall, there was a tennis court. So the representatives of third estate, they went and had a meeting in that tennis court and pledged that until a democratic constitution was drafted and established on a solid foundation. So they wanted to remain together. So what they went and pledged, they said, we want a democratic constitution. That means we want a government which was elected by people, not just by these rulers who are always selfish. So they wanted a democratic constitution, and that too with a solid foundation. That means that constitutional working body should be very effective in function, not just like this first and second estates. It must be effective in administration. And the pledge taken by the representatives of third estate in the tennis court is known as tennis court oath. What is it called? Tennis court oath. It marked the beginning of French Revolution. From here onwards, the revolt has begun in France. It marked the end of absolute monarchy. So, by denying the staying in Estates General and by forming an alternative assembly, that itself shows that they were not agreeing the monarch or king. So that marked the ending of the rule of the kings and beginning of limited monarchy based on public will. So even though if that system has to be continued, it must be on public will. So absolute monarchy means whatever king decides, that used to happen earlier. But now when the third estate people parallelly form their own system of governance and through a national assembly, then that governance is not absolute. King lost his absolute power. Now it is at public's will. It is not at the king's will. All this made Louis XVI to yield, and he ordered First and Second Estates to join the National Assembly. From then onwards, National Assembly became the National Constituent Assembly. So under pressure, so on one hand, the Third Estate formed a separate National Assembly and they were not joining to pay taxes, or they were not joining at all with the two estates. So under pressure, Louis XVI, what he did, he asked the two estates, being a king, he ordered the two estates people to go and join with the National Assembly, so which was formed by Third Estate. And from then onwards, that assembly, National Assembly, because of the joining of the first and second estate, it was called as National Constituent Assembly. So after this first and second estate people joined on the orders of Louis XVI, the National Assembly was called as National Constituent Assembly. So fall of Bastille. So this is another major event that also played a very important role in French Revolution. Already French Revolution has begun by formation of National Constituent Assembly, and the period between July to October was marked by a number of eventful happenings. Continuing with that formation of National Constituent Assembly, it was a victory for the Third Estate. Now another incident happened. The most significant of this was the fall of Bastille. What is this Bastille? We know that it's an old fortress which was being used at that time as a prison as well as a storehouse for storing guns and ammunition, means this bullets and all. So this Bastille fort, which was very old, you can see in this picture, it was used as a prison. The first estate and second estate, they used to keep all the prisoners inside this. Normally, this third estate people, they will be kept behind prison because of not paying tax. But now the situation is changed. Third estate started dominating the political system of France. Also, inside this Bastille fort, there were guns as well as, ammunition, means the bullets and other gunpowder and other such things. So the electors of Paris had formed a new municipal body and a new militia called National Guard, loyal to National Assembly. So this Bastille fort, which was with completely the people who were loyal to first and second estate, were now changed, and in place of them, new military group which was loyal to National Assembly was brought. That was called National Guards. So these people, they have brought National Guards, and in the place of the military which was earlier supporting the first and second estates. But now the military will not support to third estate, but they will support to the decisions of the National Constituent Assembly. So as per the new policy, the new military should need, the National Guard should need the weapons, right? So what they did, therefore they made their way to Bastille on July 14th to obtain the same. In the place of earlier military, new military has been asked to take charge, and that military should be loyal to the National Constituent Assembly. Now that military people, they started going to Bastille to take their weapons, because Bastille fort is also storehouse of weapons, I told you. When they are on the way to go for collecting their weapons from this Bastille fort, the governor of Bastille ordered the troops to open fire on the crowd. So people who took charge as new military, when they were about to enter Bastille, the governor of Bastille opened fire on this crowd, which killed almost 98 people and injured many more. So this unfortunate incident, the crowd stormed into Bastille and captured it. When uh, many people died in this Bastille incident because of the act of the governor of Bastille, people got so much angry. The majority third estate people, they got so much anger on this governor, and they stormed onto Bastille fort. That means they went and forcibly took control of Bastille fort, and they burnt the fort also, and they captured the fort first of all. And the prisoners, who were mostly the third estate people, they were released and they joined even the revolutionaries. So when people themselves went and occupied the fort, they released all the prisoners inside the fort, and even the prisoners joined the revolutionary movement against the first and second estate and also the king. And the fall of Bastille fort symbolized the victory of people of France. So it resembled that how what people can do if they get angry. So they could even take control of the forts, right? That was proved, which the and also that shows the fall of monarchy. The king could not do anything. He may ask the governor to kill people, but if people gets united, nobody can withstand that. That was proved with this fall of Bastille. Therefore, present July 14th is celebrated as national holiday in France as a mark of people's victory over the monarchy. They celebrate this Bastille, capturing day as national holiday. Even today they celebrate this. So after the fall of Bastille fort and people's victory in France, people's progress in France, another significant event was related to the scarcity of bread. So this happened due to drought and large-scale destruction of crops. So during those days, the crops were destroyed due to these internal disturbances. and also drought was continuously present in the France. Because of these two reasons, there was scarcity of bread. So bread was the staple food for common people. So even poorest of the poor were dependent on bread. And when this bread was in demand, being queen, Marie Antoinette, wife of Louis XVI, on hearing this news of scarcity of bread, she remarked very carelessly, and here carelessly means in a very cruel and disregard manner. She said that when people were suffering with lack of bread due to drought and the destruction of crops, she gave a very disregard and disrespectful statement to people that let them eat cake. That means she is trying to kindle them. When they're not having bread to eat, how can they eat cake and all? So she is trying to kindle them by saying that let them eat cake. Her statement agitated the people. People got angry with her statement. And the king and his family tried to escape to Germany. So when they understood, the king's family understood that the people are very angry on them, and at any time they could, revolt on king's family. Then immediately they tried to escape to Germany, but this was stopped, and this king's family was forced to go to Paris instead of Germany. They were forced to go to Paris, where they were kept in the palace of Tuileries as prisoners. Instead, they asked the king and his family members to go to a palace in Paris and stay inside that palace as prisoners. They were no longer the monarchical absolute monarchs for the country. So the country is in the hands of people now and their administration. So this another significant event proved how people could unite against the monarchs. So Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. So after the revolution has finished, or due to the revolution, on August 27, 1789, the National Constituent Assembly issued the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. So this was marked as a very significant part in world history. For the very first time, people of a country revolted against their own system of governance, and they have proclaimed their own rights for the first time for man as well as citizen. They said being human beings, they have certain rights, and being citizens of France, they have certain rights. The Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen was the first, uh, you know, concept that ever emerged in the world for the human beings' rights. It contains its ideals and objectives. It proclaimed that all men were born free, shall remain free, and were equal in rights. Because these third estate people suffered with this inequality in rights and other things, they gave a lot of focus in giving common rights and equality to all people. So the natural rights so proclaimed included right to liberty, that means freedom. Property means have property, individual security, and resistance to oppression. So this kind of rights were given. One is right to freedom, right to have property, right to have individual security, and also resistance. That means to oppression means whenever if some minority people try to suppress and try to dominate the majority people, people have every right to give resistance. This kind of rights were given through this Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. And in 1791, National Constituent Assembly completed the task of drafting a new constitution. On one hand, the Constituent Assembly gave some rights to people. On the other hand, it also was having the task of drafting a new constitution, because there is no monarch now as the ruler of France. Now they have to govern themselves. To govern themselves, they need set of rules and regulations. Those rules and regulations are called constitution. So this constitution was drafted by the National Constituent Assembly in France.